on evaluation of training, and I hope you are able to hear me and see me, all of you. Are you able to see me and hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So this is the second session, and last time I think we did the systematic approach to training cycle, and there are 4 stages in that. We start everything with training needs analysis, then go on to designing and developing the training packages, and then implementing that training, that is like one-to-one or in the class training or online training, that is the delivery part or implementation. And then we go on to the evaluation. So that is the SAT cycle, and it is very important if we want to improve the performance of our employees. Basically, the training is for improvement and enhancement in performance. And then we also looked at the definitions of training. We studied a little bit about the training needs analysis, and then all the other 3 stages. And I mentioned one thing, that evaluation is actually inbuilt in all the other 3 stages too. It is, although it is shown as the last stage in the systematic approach to training, but it has to be inbuilt in all the other stages also. And then we talked about the training, and today we also studied about the validations. If you look at the dictionary meaning, validation means proving something, and there are 2 kinds of validations: internal validation and external validation. By internal validation, we actually mean that the training program, which has predefined objectives, that has been successfully completed, that objectives of the training program have been achieved. By external validation, we mean such assessments in which we see the enhancement in performance. The training needs analysis that were identified have been eventually been satisfied by the training. So when we carry out such measures, such assessments, then we called it a external validation. And when we are just talking about the training and how successful the training had been, that is the internal validation. Need not to say that internal validation should be a prerequisite for an external validation. So let us move on from here, and let us look at what is evaluation today. We stopped here. I will just share the screen with you now, and I'll show you the PowerPoint. So, can anybody attempt to define what is evaluation? What is evaluation of training?
This is Ritu this side. Good afternoon to everyone. Just wanted to share probably the evaluation is the
I'm not able to hear. You will have to speak a little louder, probably.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Hello? No, not yet.
Oh my God. Maybe I'll try later, ma'am, then signals problem.
Ma'am, evaluation will be something like someone, you want to go ahead, please carry on.
Who's speaking? Heman?
Yes, yes. Please carry on, carry on.
As I understand, evaluation of training would be the measurement of the training standards achieved on the culmination of the training vis-a-vis the benchmarks that you had set or the aim that you had set for the achievement of, for the performance. Yes. Basically measuring the 2 values and finding out as to where you are falling short. That is what the systematic approach to training stresses on. And that is why the benchmarking of the training standard becomes an extremely important part of the evaluation process.
Anybody else? What is evaluation of training?
Evaluation in simplest terms, like as Mr. Anupam has already mentioned, it's more of a to see what were your objectives and what we have achieved, whether we have achieved the let's say whether we achieved what we wanted to, or is there any gap in it, like is the training fruitful to the employees, were they able to understand, and all those aspects.
Evaluation is basically comparison of the training standards desired and the training standards achieved.
You want to say that we started with some objective, and to measure that, whether how far we have gone with the standards and whether we have achieved those standards or not.
Yes, ma'am. The evaluation will be done by the participants themselves, not by the HR, but by the participants through their feedback.
Actually, I think by the end of this session, probably you will change your minds a little.
Oh, really?
Because evaluation is a little more than that.
Right, ma'am.
Yes, it is more than that.
Ma'am, I recall the model, ma'am, where there were 4 levels of evaluation, and some part of it I recall the ROI, the participant reactions, and the transfer to the job learning. So probably evaluation is both internal and external validation,
Yes.
which you were talking about, ma'am. It is a objective
Absolutely.
But I'm sorry, ma'am, I would not agree to the part of ROI. ROI will be a different case from the evaluation. ROI will be my to the management, where I'm putting it across that, okay, this is what we have achieved from the training. So ROI, I would not sorry, I'm not that experienced, but I would not consider ROI as a part of the evaluation, at least at this stage.
I think you will discover something, that ROI should be actually the crux of the matter. And it is ultimately why you should be doing any training at all. So that is a very big part of evaluation. And when we study the models, you will discover that this is the 5th level that one of the latest models suggest. So let us move on. And you are partly right, but there's much more to evaluation than what you have said. And yes, I agree with the lady. She said that it consists of both internal and external validation. That is true. And let us move on from here. Some people have tried to define it, and Bramley is an author, and he writes that evaluation training is a process of gathering information with which to make decisions about training activities. So decisions could be all inclusive, whether to run those trainings at all or not, whether to modify such trainings, whether to train people in some other way. Then Hamblin is another author, and Hamblin has also given us a model. Of course, that is not in your course these days, but it's a very old model. And Hamblin has defined evaluation of training as any attempt to obtain information, that is the feedback, on effects of training program, and to assess the value of training in the light of that information for improving further training. So both these definitions are a little, what would I say, a little complicated. So we have a contemporary one also. And as I discussed earlier, this is also taken from the glossary of training terms. And it is actually, in simplistic terms, it is the assessment of total value. Actually, saying this should be enough. Assessment of total value. Now, total value could include a number of things. And total value of what? Of a training system, training course, program. How much, like what value do we judge? Social as well as financial terms. How it has benefited people socially and how it has, you can include psychologically also into social and as well as financial terms. How the organization is benefiting, was the training worthwhile? Or you could say it is a continuous monitoring of a program. So that is the latest, what do you say, the evaluation of training definition. And what do we get by evaluation? What does it do for us? Naturally, the underpinning of this question is why should we do evaluation? But what does it do for us?
It gives more precision in times to come further in terms of training programs and also the transfer of training. More precision, ma'am, in our attempts as a trainer also.
So we have trainers also here. You're right. Yes. It helps to, first of all, document. You had read the definitions from Hamblin and Bremley, and it definitely helps to document whether a program is accomplishing its goals or not. Okay? Like, you may be doing guesswork unless you document things. And the first and foremost step in any evaluation exercise is to document whatever you learn or seek information, feedback, etc. It identifies weaknesses and strengths of the program and the areas of the program that need revision. So what will tell you what will tell you whether it needs revision or not? The measurement of performance, isn't it? You have a particular standard, and after that, what is the standard of performance? So that will give you the real area where you need revision, and also whether the content was okay or not, whether the delivery of the training was okay or not. So all the strengths and weaknesses of the program. What does it involve? What do we do in evaluation? And we get this by asking questions, collecting answers, making decisions based on those answers. So very in simple terms, you are collecting data and analyzing it, isn't it? So that is what evaluation is. It does this, and it attempts to assess the overall value, whereas validation assesses the laid down objectives or standards. So are you able to differentiate? When we talked about internal validation, we had a objective.
Can you just cover the difference once again?
Yeah, I will. I'm doing that right now.
Thank you.
Validation is when we are talking about internal validation, we are talking about the training objectives, and we are trying to find out whether the training was okay or not based upon the reactions or whatever questions or assessments that were made during the training or at the end of the training. And in external validation, we measure the increase in performance and also try to match the training needs that we started with the performance now, and do we really require any change, like whether the gap has been filled or not. But when we are evaluating the differences, when we are evaluating, we are trying to assess the overall value. Yes, the training objectives were met. Yes, the performance has increased. But was it worthwhile to invest so much money? Did it really benefit the organization or not? That is what we are trying to do when we are trying to evaluate. So this diagram...
Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
I will. Let me just explain this one. I think then it will be very, very clear to you. Internal validation is, have the training programs objectives been met? That is the training. In the training scenario, we do that. And external validation is, has the training solved the problem or improved the job performance? That is done at the performance level. And when we are also talking about the costs, when we are also talking about the social benefit that has happened, or enhancement in performance, then we are talking about evaluation. So let us go back to the earlier slide, if that is still required. Yeah, tell me, any questions?
Ma'am, whatever you talked about, this seems to be more on the post-training evaluation. What about pre-training evaluation? You are talking about the ROI. You are talking about that I have given training, and then we will be evaluating a person, a learner, right? But before we even go for imparting training, and we actually try to set up a training objective, we have to know where the learner stands. And for that also, a lot of organization invest a lot in doing the pre-training evaluation.
And that
I
is
think
very, very
whatever
important. Yes, that is very important, because then if you don't do that, you'll be sending the wrong people to the wrong different trainings. Like,
not only that, ma'am, but also we'll not be able to set up the right set of objectives and right set of goals.
definitely. And when we are doing the training needs analysis, we should try to include this part of evaluation while the training needs analysis is being done.
Right.
You're
So,
very
ma'am,
right.
whatever you actually mentioned in this evaluation, it was not covering the pre-training evaluation. That's the reason I raised up this.
Why do you say so? Assess
Because
the total overall value. What does that mean to you?
overall value of the training is what you said, ma'am.
May I?
Look here, what you are saying is you are saying a pre-training evaluation. There is a
Yes.
different name for that. The different name is checking the entry behavior. Okay. And checking the entry behavior is how much the person knows. If you did you attend the last class? The last
No, ma'am,
sessions?
I didn't. No, I
So
didn't
you
attend
missed
it.
on that. You missed on that. We talked about the PowerPoint will be available. You can still look at it, and the video will also be available. When we do the pre-training, either you call it evaluation or you call it a training needs analysis, we try to identify the gaps in performance. We try to obtain information about what kind of training our people need, that can be done at the organizational level, at the job level, and also at the task level. So what you are calling pre-evaluation is actually a different name, and a full exercise is done on that, so that you are able to, and you don't waste your money or your resources in trainings which are not required for your people.
Ma'am, may I, sir? If we have, going back to the first semester where the training need analysis was covered in detail, the three analysis that are done as part of the training needs analysis at the organizational level, the group level, and the individual level, that is primarily meant to identify the individuals or the groups which require training and what kind of a training is required. Because if that is not done, the entire edifice on which the training structure is built would yield suboptimal results. That is why that is an important part. And the pre-training evaluation primarily will get covered there. Thereafter, when the individual reports for the training, the same thing will still need to be, like what Arvind was just mentioning, the same thing will need to be reconfirmed so that the trainer can fine-tune his training or the conduct of the training to suit the requirements of the participants.
Definitely,
that is the way
yes.
I understand it.
Actually, evaluation is done at 5 points. Okay, we will come to that portion a little later. You are very right. And that is the entry behavior checking. Like, we give tests, we ask questions, we also interview people and check whether, yes, before starting the program and before the participant enters into the training, yes, that is done.
In fact, in the training needs analysis, this thing was covered, that the entrance entry level behavior, what you are talking, or the entrance test and the performance would be checked against the post-training evaluation that is, or validation that is done, to see as to where the participant stood at the start of the commencement of the training, where the participant stands at the end of the training. So that actually gives us the effort or the overall impact of the performance of the training.
Yes, I agree to that.
one more issue, ma'am. Would it be correct, going by the slide that you are just showing as of now on evaluation and the validation, would it be correct to say that validation?
You mean this one? You mean this one?
No, previous one, ma'am.
This is not giving you a definition of evaluation.
No, I'm
just only asking you, what does evaluation do? What do we get after evaluation?
Absolutely.
That is what
Absolutely.
it is.
No, I'm not looking at the definition. What I just wanted to say, would it be correct if we say that validation is an objective analysis of the training? It is in black and white. This is the performance desired. This is the performance achieved. Whereas evaluation is more subjective, which will include the parts of the validation, and it will include certain other aspects also for you to be able to actually arrive at a conclusion as to what was the effect of the training. Would it be correct if I say this?
Absolutely. But you can't rule out in the validation also. Some portions may be subjective. You cannot rule out in that also. But definitely I agree with you that evaluation has to be, and by black and white, I think you mean by being black and white documented. Does that
Absolutely,
mean? Does it
yes.
what you mean? So yes, why not internal why not evaluation? That has to be very much documented, and you have to, as an evaluator, you have to submit a report of what you did and what you got, and you have to state what you found, the subjective things also. And there should be, like, your approach should be to try to convert all the subjective items into objective ones. That should be the approach. But of course, I agree, everything cannot be converted like that.
What I meant by the black and white was, say, you are being imparted a training in improving your speed of running. You were running in 15 seconds earlier. If you have been able to run it in 14 seconds, that is a black and white system, that 1 second improvement in your running speed has taken place. Whereas evaluation will incorporate so many other parameters apart from this pure black and white portion of 1 second improvement. So that is what I meant by black and white, ma'am. Not really documented. I understand. I agree that even evaluation will have to be documented, because the evaluator will have to justify why he evaluates the training in that particular manner.
Definitely.
I had a little query, may I? Ma'am, I was just trying to link the first semester where we were taught about formative and summative assessment. And do it means that the internal validation is the process where this formative and summative assessment does the evaluation?
Look, assessments can be done anywhere. Okay. And summative assessments are generally those assessments where you declare people pass and fail. And yes, training institute is the ideal place. But if it relates to your promotion, then the summative assessment can be a part of your job performance also. Like at the external validation area also, when it is like you have to choose among, for example, you run an exam and only those people who pass the exam, they get an increment or some kind of post or some promotion. Then yes, summative can be used there also. So summative means when you declare somebody pass or fail. Formative is just improving people through assessments.
So does it mean, ma'am, does it mean the external validation also will have the summative assessment component?
Yes, it can have, like, for example, if you have a program of 7 modules and passing of first module is necessary to go on to the second module, then you can have a summative assessment for that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, shall we move on from here?
Yes, ma'am.
So you might have noticed something, that we are also talking about the costs when we are talking about evaluation. Are the costs justified or not? So now, why do we do evaluation? There are a number of reasons. Some of the reasons you have already cited. And it is very important to satisfy the needs of the clients or stakeholders. Whoever is your client, maybe the organization wants you to check their trainings, they could be your clients, or it could be the people who are funding the training. They could be your clients. So their stakeholders needs that has to be satisfied. Then it gives a justification for an investment in training, that you are using the resources rightly and for the right trainings. And it proves benefits of having a training function. That is very important for trainers also. And somebody mentioned in the group that yes, trainers have to prove that trainings are benefiting the organizations. It encourages management for further investment in training. If they know through evaluation that yes, the performance has increased due to some training program, then they will be encouraged. It enables training to be valued from different perspectives. We will discuss this in a little detail in further slides. The different perspectives would be different for different people. What I mean by that is, if you are a trainee, it will be different for you. You will maybe you will be looking at it as you should be able to do well in the training. It is important for your image, or maybe you're just curious. You want to learn new things so that you can do better in your job. And for trainers, it is their perspective is to prove that their trainings are very good, and they get a satisfaction that they are able to help people. They're able to help people to learn new things. And the organization that looks at it with a different perspective, that yes, my workforce has been trained, and now my overall performance as an organization in the competitive environment will increase. And from the perspective of people who are investing their money into the training, or people who are getting business from the training, they will also have a different perspective. So you can value it from different perspectives also, and from different levels also. It also includes a cost benefit analysis. What benefits have been drawn from the training? That is very important, and it includes that. And this is a professional discipline for training management. So managing the training, this is the thing that we should really invest in. It encourages careful scrutiny of training proposals. If you are an organization who wants to train their people in some kind of knowledge, skill, or attitude, then you may be looking at different training proposals. There will be different organizations who are selling their training or who are satisfying your needs. So you can make a careful scrutiny by evaluating that. You can even run a SWOT analysis on that. So there are some questions that every evaluator needs to ask. And these are only basic questions. This is just an illustrative list. I don't say that the evaluator has to ask only these many questions. This is just an example. How many people needed training and how many trained? Like, your questions could be revolving around this area. Which techniques or tools are suitable? What are the costs incurred? Can these costs be justified? Like, for example, you ran it in a very good 5-star hotel, and the training could have been held at some other institution also. So was the cost justified? What was the impact or benefit? Is this effective use of resources? Because resources are always like, has to be put judiciously, isn't it? What systems and procedures were used? Who are the stakeholders? This is a very, very important question for any evaluator. And because that has to be satisfied. And what to do with information. When you have got all this information, then how to analyze it, how to query on that, or how to use that information. So these are the basic questions that the evaluator should ask.
Could you, ma'am, just elaborate on who are the stakeholders, like how it is significant?
Like, if you're running a training and you're evaluating it, then who are the stakeholders? If we give such report, like, who are the people who are getting affected? There could be trainers. There could be people who are undergoing the training. There could be people who are investing into the training. For example, there is a training for rural women in farm implements, okay, where they are laborers and this is the training. So if such a training is continued, it is going to benefit the society as a whole, the people at the grassroots level. So they also become a part of the stakeholders in classroom trainings, in organizations, in corporate scenario. It may not be true, but people or farmers training, or like, I'm just giving you an example. So these are the people who are getting affected. They are the stakeholders.
Okay.
It could be your customers also. Like such an organization has trained the people in selling, and complaints can be reduced. So customers are a stakeholder. So why should we evaluate training? There's a little summary about that, like to assess the extent to which your organization or business has benefited from a particular training, and to track the development of staff knowledge and skills. Like you must be keeping in your organization something called training management information systems, and you can track that. Like people who have undergone such and such training, they can be posted in such places if the organization is big, those kinds of things, to find out if the learning is being applied in the workplace. It could be that the training scenario was ideal, and when you come to the organization, there are many hurdles to apply that knowledge in the workplace. To identify training gaps and future training needs, for that also we do evaluation. To establish if the investment was worthwhile. Everything went well. The internal validation was super good. The external validation was also very good. But was it really worth to spend so much money in the training? Couldn't it be achieved through some other means? These are the questions that you should ask. To inform future training plans and strategy. After evaluation, you will get some data, and you will get to know how many people have been trained. And you also come to know the gaps in the training, and you can go ahead and do another training needs analysis also. And you can plan your training strategy for the, say, the newcomers, or for the people who are going to be promoted, or if you're diversifying, then to your training plans and strategy. And to ensure that training continuously improves. So that is why we do evaluation. And I talked about different perspectives, and this slide is showing you people could be at different places. Although I've shown that as a funding agency and you're seeing a building, but actually it is the people who matter, not the place. So people at funding, like it is a symbolic of people at the funding agencies. Many times, the funding agency could be different than the client organization, which you are seeing here below. Client organization are the people, organizations who are sending their people to training. And funding agencies are those who are funding. Most of the time, they are the same people. In smaller organizations, most probably they will be the same people, but it could be different also. For example, if yours is a United Nations funded program, or if yours is a Department of Person Training funded program, Government of India is funding. For example, POSH training, Government of India funds that training. Even the Right to Information training is being funded by the Government of India at many places. So then it could be different people. So the funding agencies would be more interested in seeing where has the allocation of resources been done, whether it is being done judiciously or not. The money they had spent, they will require a utilization certificate. Client organization will look at it with a concern that their people's performance improves, and time for training is time away from the work. So whether that was worthwhile or not, training institutions would be more interested in seeing that their trainings are looked at as beneficial things, so that people come more and more to their trainings. They want to make people comfortable. They want to make the learning environment better, so that people feel that they have attained something, because they mostly depend upon the feedback that the participants give the training institutions. So their concern is that the training should go on well, even the facilities during the training should be well, the delivery of the training should be good, the content of the training should be good. That is what their concern is. So this is how you look at the different perspectives on evaluation. And people, mostly like participants, if it is a test or an assessment, people don't like. It depends. Like if you're a fresher, then yes, you look forward to assessments. But if you are in higher echelons of hierarchy, for example, if you are middle management or senior management people, then people don't look at assessments as proper. They don't want to get assessed. They want to like evaluation should be, they feel that participants themselves should be doing the evaluation, and not the training institution, because the training according to them should be purely on andragogy principles, not pedagogy. So that is why, so their concern will be different towards the evaluation, and their perspectives will also be different according to the place where where they are.
Does EOT means evaluation of training? EOT.
It does, yes, it does mean evaluation of training.
Okay, thanks.
So we say this is a quintet, training evaluation quintet. That is who is involved. Mostly when we are doing evaluation of training, these are the people who are involved. The senior management in the organization, the line management. Senior management could be including the people who are funding the training also. Then the line management, that is your bosses and people who are responsible to oversee your performance or supervise your performance. The training managers, people who send people on training or people who are managing the trainings, then the people who are delivering the training, the trainer, and of course, the trainee himself who is undergoing the training, and he participates in the evaluation at both at internal validation level and also at external validation level. So let us have a look at what we studied. Actually, this is from the last training only. So I haven't changed my slides, and the duration of the sessions have changed, but I haven't changed my slides. So we looked at this in this up to this point. And I will just take you to another PowerPoint, and I will
Can you just show the last slide, ma'am?
You want to see the last slide?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, ma'am. Bye. Yeah.
We will look at what points at which the evaluation is done. Now, effective and efficient training will come to that. I haven't covered this yet. We have covered only up to this point. Evaluation. That is why I said I haven't changed my PowerPoint. Although the duration of the session has increased, but shall we move on?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Are you able to see the new PowerPoint or not?
Yes, ma'am.
It says
Yes,
session 3. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
This was session 3 of the erstwhile but actually I didn't change the PowerPoint, so I'm sorry for that. The timings have changed, so the last time it was 70 minutes duration, but now it is 90 minutes. So I covered more in the first session. So let us look at the structure of training evaluation. The structure is like that. There are 5 basic points at which we can measure, assess, or reach judgments. Somebody pointed out that there is a evaluation, pre-training evaluation. You are very right. And we cannot eliminate that. That is a must. So if you want your evaluations to be fruitful, then you must do a pre-training evaluation also. And the numbers here show you the points at which evaluations should take place in an ideal environment. 5 basic points at which we can measure, assess, or reach judgments. So one number shows that before entering the training, there should be some evaluation that goes on. And then during the training, at the first point, you can put some tests, or you can put take interviews, or you can put questionnaires to people just to assess them, assess their what they require, and change the program accordingly. And even after the training needs analysis, you have the needs there, but a particular group may be different from another group, and the level of knowledge of people could be different. So you have to adapt to that to suit the training to them. So during the training, when we are measuring during the training, then we are actually measuring through the reactions. That is, when we will do the models, then you will realize this is the first level. So we measure the reactions. There could be many instruments, happy sheets, there could be questionnaires, there could be feedback forms. And we also evaluate through learning. By learning, I mean like there could be, somebody mentioned formative assessment. So the trainer could be throwing questions at people. It could be oral, it could be written. You can give them an exercise or some discussions or debates. So learning can be checked by the trainer through that. And reactions, of course, it could be to the learning unit also. It could be at the end of the training also. So reactions at every stage can be seen. Reactions can be even lecture-wise. Like the trainer can see the reaction immediately and suit his training or his lecture or his inputs according to the reactions that he gets from the trainees. Then when the third point is when the trainee has left the training and is going to the workplace. Here, some assessment as to how he will transfer, that is preparing the person to transfer the learning to the workplace. How he will transfer his learning gained in the training into the workplace. So you can have some forms there. You can elicit information from the participant. You can frame questions in the questionnaire like, how will you apply this knowledge, some particular part in the training? How can you apply that to your workplace? And that kind of thing. So that you can elicit that the participant is prepared to go to the workplace and apply the learning there. And then at the fourth place is the performance level. And you will notice that as the trainee goes from, this is immediate in the training institution, but when he is left the training and he has entered into the workplace, the time taken for the evaluation here will be a little more. Like it is after some time when he has settled back into his workplace and he started practicing those skills, after that you will assess. And then although the slide shows that he has exited the workplace here, yes, when he has either joined a new organization or he has left the workplace, he has retired, how he is now contributing, whether the workplace and the trainings that had happened or the performance that had happened at the workplace Is he able to give back something to the society? What kind of people has the organization created? Are they responsible citizens who are giving back to the society, or are they not so useful, just focused on profit or something, or self-centered people? So this kind of assessment is there, and it also includes assessment of the organization as a whole. So these are the 5 points where
And can you just elaborate on the third point once again, please?
the third point
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
Yes, sure. At the third point, actually, we tend to measure how the participant is prepared to use the training that has happened in the institution at the workplace. We call it transfer of learning. How he is prepared to transfer that learning to the workplace. You can do this assessment by either giving them some questions to write. You can ask them how will you use this skill practically, or how you will apply this knowledge practically into your workplace.
Ma'am, exactly that is the question, because this is taken care of while training only, and it is known as action plan. And how it can be a separate stage? Please elaborate on that.
We assume that the training is over unless you have gone through all the, say it is a 5-day training, and unless you have gone through all the sessions, you cannot really tell whether your look, the venue doesn't matter. I think in your mind you're thinking whether it is to be at the workplace or at the institution. The venue doesn't matter, the activity matters. Though he may be in the training institution, or he may be at the workplace. The questions can be given to him, or checklists could be given to him, whether he is able to apply such training. You can call it an action plan also. People call it through different names. And whether you do it in the training institution, or you do it at the workplace, or when he's leaving the training, the venue or the place is not so much important. The time is important here when he's exiting the training.
Okay, if it is an action plan, then I mean, what evaluation is done there?
Yeah, you can give them questionnaires.
How can we evaluate?
You can give them questions. You can give them interviews. You can interview them. You can give them questions. You can give them something like what he has learned. It depends upon the kind of training. For example, he did a training which was a skills training. So you can give him some situation or something where he can demonstrate his skill. And because workplace environment is going to be a little different from the ideal environment in the training institution. So whatever he has learned in the training, how he is going to apply that. So maybe interview, maybe you will have to make some instruments, and that will differ from one training to another training.
If I would like to add on this point, probably it is just like the consolidation of the learning. So many things have gone in the trainee's mind. So as a company, when we give a thought, a question that where you are going to apply, what are the situations you feel this is important, with this simple question, the trainee actually regains all the learnings and find a situation in his own way. That may be very innovative for each trainee as well. And then when he applies that, because he is now clear what he has to do in his mind, and now when he applies, the result would be even much better. So I think this is the evaluation. It's a reconsolidation of the thoughts of the trainee schema.
But we are talking about evaluation of training. We are not talking about the implementation or something like that. I mean, this is a conceptual thing, and I'm not able to get that, ma'am.
Which training did you do last time? Did you undergo any training last time?
Last time means?
I mean, which was the last training that you did?
I attended this Master Trainer Development Program.
Okay. So you must have been taught some presentation skills, for example, in that.
Okay.
Were you taught some presentation skills?
That was a
Now,
DOT program, design of training.
okay, okay. That the Department of Personal Training program.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
There's a there's a post course project in that. Unless you do
Uh,
the project, you don't pass
okay.
the training, isn't it? You don't get the certificate unless you do the project. So that is just one example. It will differ from one training to another. Doing the project is actually transferring your learning. When you're already into your training scenario and you're doing a project, you're really designing a training. That is what you're doing the third stage. Are you getting me? That is just one example that I'm citing.
Ma'am, as far as my understanding goes, transfer of learning is at the actual workplace. It is not in the project or at the third stage. But
Okay, what do you want to call it? What do you want to call it?
that is what I'm trying to understand.
Look, transfer, how can learning be transferred just at the workplace? You have undergone some training, okay? Now you have a plan, and the trainer is supposed to see what kind of plan that person has. How will he transfer it at the workplace? And now, when you're at the workplace and your seniors ask you to do this, that thing, there will be other assessments. How far you are doing? They will compare your performance from earlier one. Okay. So you can call it an action plan, you can call it a project, post-training project, or you can give it any form. But this is the place where you prepare yourself to transfer that learning to the workplace. Okay.
Okay,
I
still
think
not clear, but we can go ahead.
don't get too much into academic. Okay. Don't get too much into academic. Just understand, somebody else can cite some example of training to better understand it. What is your confusion here? Tell me. What is your, ask me a pointed question. What is the confusion here?
My confusion is that, okay, pre-training stage is very clear. Then after training, going to workplace. Now, what is this stage? This is one of the 5 basic points that you have said, that where we can measure, assess, or treat judgments. As far as the
I'm
training
not
is
saying it
concerned,
is mandatory. Sometimes people skip this.
Um,
Sometimes people skip this also. And this also includes the feedback. You can have immediate reaction questionnaires also at this stage. Okay. This
okay,
is when he is preparing to go to the workplace. He is going from a simulated environment, or you can say an ideal condition environment, and say there are 40 participants in the training. And each participant will be having a different level of knowledge or skill, isn't it? So, how they fared here, this
yeah,
will be,
training is over.
yeah,
So this
training
stage
is
I am
over.
not clear, ma'am. This stage I am not clear. This
ma'am, if
point.
I
Can
would
this be
just,
a,
I, ma'am, I would like to add, probably, ma'am, I had a little
Can you
example.
talk a little louder, please?
Yeah, ma'am, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, ma'am, I had a little example last year at the end. We had a lot of training programs in competency increasing in communications. So after that training program, training manager in our outside, he just asked Ritu, where are you going to use this? Now, tomorrow we are going to have a work in the field. What are the situation? What are the doctors that you have selected for this? So probably this stage of third, which I understand with your point, ma'am, is the psychological preparation of the candidate, that whether he is ready to face the practical scenario which he is going to work. And when my applications, my thoughts were ready, and I shared that I'm planning
Again,
this.
your voice has become low. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So when,
now it's okay.
yeah, so when that was clear in my mind when I just shared with that training manager that yes, these are the instances that I'm going to use this learning which has been taught today. And then the next, when we were in the field, he actually observed the situation. So that was the transfer of learning. But the situations were made in my mind that time when he actually asked me the question, where and what are you going to do from today's training? For, say,
I think, yes, you are right. I agree with you. You are right. it is not just the psychological preparation. What you're citing was the psychological preparation, but there could be trainings where the people could be asked to demonstrate also, and they can, like, before they are entering into the workplace, they are given a small test that could be done. For example, pilots training or some other kind of skill training that could also be done.
Ma'am, can I quote one example?
Yeah, please do that.
Actually, we got the training for 5 days, and in the last day, they told us to give a presentation on all the learnings that we have gone through that week. So, is the third stage?
Yes, I think so. Yes. I told you the place doesn't matter. Sometimes, in some trainings, the trainers do give the participants some forms and some material also, which they have to use after the training is over and they're gone to the workplace, and now they are doing the work there. Then they have to fill up the forms and send the same back to the trainers, telling them how they have learned and how they will be using it. What are the situations that can also be done if the trainer is quite involved in the training and he's concerned that the clients like their trainings.
But isn't it that evaluation of training is,
according to you, third stage should not be done? There's no third stage? Is that what you want to point out?
No. Now I have another question.
Yeah, tell me.
That if, just now you said that the trainers are taking the feedback and, they are giving forms, etc. And, but trainers, are they the evaluators of the training? Are the trainers evaluators of the training?
Yes, why not? There will be at different places, different people could be involved in evaluation. Why not trainers?
Okay. Just a doubt.
At different places differ. For example, the same trainer could be giving a training, and he now wants to know how my participants learned and how he will be using this training into the workplace. So he can very well be involved as a evaluator also there. What stops a trainer to be an evaluator also?
Okay.
Okay. So at the workplace, when we are talking about the third stage and the fourth stage and the fifth stage, mostly the results matter. And especially at the fourth and the fifth stage, how the organization fares, what results they get, that matters. And also at the third stage and the fourth stage, the change in the behavior should be measured. So that is generally how we do the evaluations at third, fourth, and fifth stages. And at the first and the second stage, and also at the third stage, reactions and how much learning has happened, that is measured. Yes?
Ma'am, second, third, and fourth stage of evaluation are all well understood. Who is going to be the evaluator as far as the fifth stage is concerned?
Okay. The organization could hire evaluators, certified evaluators like you are. There are specialized organizations who do evaluations on organizations. They can be hired, or it could be the senior management only, or the HR people. Some people are taken out to do the job done. Okay. It's at the fifth stage and the fourth stage, generally trainers will not be involved, although they will be interested to know the outcomes of evaluation there. But mostly fourth and fifth stages, the trainers will not be involved. And at the first, second, and third stage, I think there should be, if it has to be a good training, there should be an active role of the trainer here. And at the first stage also, the line managers should be involved. At the fourth stage, again, the blind managers should be involved. And at third stage, it is a good idea if the line managers are also involved.
No,
generally, it is the trainer who does that.
No, what I'm saying is at the fifth stage of the training, the organization is not really interested in spending so much of time and effort in trying to find out how good
your problem here is now perspective. Yes. Actually, As we move from first, second, third, fourth to fifth stage, the perspective, the size, and the activities increase. At the fifth stage, the organization will not be looking at just one training. They may be looking at the overall workforce training, how the workforce has prepared, how the workforce is performing in, like if they have competitors in the political scenario, in the environment, how the organization is faring. Generally at the fifth stage, it is the organizational level that is done. Individual level is mostly till the fourth stage, and that too when you are doing for one, like all the trainees who have undergone, say 40 people from your organization underwent this training, so you will be doing assessments here for those 40 people only. But at fifth stage, it will be like much more than that.
No, I'm totally.
Exams, for example, for the junior administrative grade in Government of India, you have a full program, career training program. Like after 2 years, they undergo this, then after 3 years, this, then after 5 years, this. So how it is faring?
Okay. It is actually, I just recall from yesterday, we had.
I think there's a lot more to come, and as we discuss the models, it will become clearer.
Yeah.
Or if you have any pointed questions here, you can still ask me.
Ma'am, can you just tell any organization which does it in India?
I don't think so.
Stage of training, I don't think any small or a medium organization has the ability to do this.
No, I don't think. Mostly they stop at second stage or maybe the third stage. And some organizations do not even do the third stage. Like when we will talk about the levels or the models of training, it will become much more clearer. Even in US, hardly the ASTD statistics tells that hardly 10 to 15% people, organizations are into this fourth and fifth stage. Fifth stage is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is the basic, like if you are as an academic thing, you must know where the evaluations should be doing. And when we talk about return on investment, then we talk about the fifth stage.
Ma'am, I would just like to add a simple point. Yesterday, ma'am, there was...
You will have to talk a little louder. I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, ma'am, I attended the DI award-winning ceremony. So a lot of it depends on the type of organization, like what the training they are doing for, like gender, if they are doing certain trainings, and when the consumer itself come back with the responses. So that is the fifth level of...
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. It depends on the type of training.
Yeah.
It depends upon the type of training. Generally, in behavioral training, it is pointless to do the like. It's not easy, and it will be very difficult to do at the fourth and the fifth stage.
Yes. Thank
you. Can we move on from here? Any more questions? Okay. Hello. Am I audible?
Move on. We can move on.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Now let us look at the factors. There are some factors that create difficulty in evaluation. Evaluation is not an easy thing. Training needs analysis is easier. You are given a job, although it is a very huge task, but you can carry it on and you have people there. It's easier to design the training and develop the training. Still again, delivery can be done and training can be carried on. But doing the evaluation is quite difficult. And the factors that create the difficulties are, first of all, the time scale. Like you cannot do it immediately. Of course, you can do the reaction level, like you can take the feedback, you can do just during the training, that can be done immediately. But that is not actually the real evaluation. And it is actually after some time that has happened, and after the training, that you can do that, and it needs time. Then there could be conflict between the need to allow time for the effects of the training to become apparent and for the evaluation to take place as soon as possible after the training, to minimize the effects of contaminating factors on the results. What are the contaminating factors I am discussing just now? I will be discussing that. Like that, contaminating factors are those that lower the effect of training or the learning that has happened. So there's always a conflict between, like, we want to do it quickly so that people don't, for example, people are transferred. So that is a contaminating factor. Somebody has learned something, but now he's not performing that work. So he will not be able to test his skills. So there's a conflict like that. Then there is contamination is like changes in the business objectives. Earlier you learned about some product, and now the organization is promoting a different product and their objectives have changed. So that transfer is not happening. Changes is technology and systems, like you learned a program on some software program and it has become obsolete now, and the organization changes into something else, or the new machines have come. So whatever learning you underwent, that is no longer useful. Then leadership style of the managers. Your manager has changed and he doesn't care about what you have learned, and he wants you to do only the way he wants to carry out the work. So there could be conflict of interest, there could be psychological conflicts. Changes in work method or culture, conflict between implementation of training and non-training interventions. What do I mean by non-training interventions? Are factors due to which you're not able to implement the training. For example, the environment in the organization is not correct. For example, the place where you are sitting, you're not able to practice your skills, or maybe you're burdened with so much work that you are not able to scrutinize your proposals, or whatever knowledge you gained, you're not able to look at that. Or there could again be like some conflicts, like people are not happy with new skills or the new ways that you are introducing after the training. So there could be work group pressures also, and there could be a decline in motivation. Okay, I underwent the training, but now the person has, the motivation has lessened and he is not able to use that, the learnings in the training. So now there are some measures that supervisors should take so that it becomes effective and the manager doesn't discourage the people who have undergone training. So there is a one thing that the trainings should be given to supervisors also, and review the selection criteria and procedures, like the right people should get. And if there's going to be a change in the policy or in the product or something like that, then you should review that before sending people to the training. Increase the number of meetings between supervisors and their managers. And review the content and priority areas of supervisory jobs. That should be done. Increase delegation to the supervisors. So that is some suggestions only. Then there is a factor which is management support. The higher management may not be supporting. Yes, you did the training, that is all right, but you are put into so many other things. So to get the management support, you have to work closely with them. And why? Because here I mean as an evaluator, you need management support. There may be people not answering your questionnaires. There may be people who are not responding to what you are asking them. So management support is required. You also require resources, and judge the effectiveness of training, how the training has been effective, levels at which the evaluation is needed. That is also a difficult thing. For example, at the level, by levels here, I mean the level of the models. For example, the Kirkpatrick model, at the reaction level, it is much easier to do the evaluation. But as if you go to the job performance level, it becomes difficult. And at results level, it becomes even more difficult. And arrange for performance data required by you. and reaction to finding of evaluation. For example, you came up with some evaluation. So the reaction of the management or the senior management could be very different from what you expect. So your findings of evaluation may turn some stones which should not be turned on according to them. So these are the difficulties. People may become annoyed with your findings. These are some of the things. Now look at this slide. You require two factors which are very crucial when you're doing evaluation of training. On the horizontal axis, you can see the resources. By resources, I mean time, facilities, costs, etc. And on the vertical axis, you have the performance. That is the expected outcome of training and investment of appropriate resources. These are the two things which matter while doing the evaluation. So you will either be measuring the performance or you will be measuring how many resources have been used in the training if you really want to find out what is the worth of the training, isn't it? So now when we have performance on the left side or the vertical axis, there are two things that matter. There are these parameters that tell you TNA, training needs analysis, that gives you the needs that are there. And based upon the gaps that you identify, based upon the lists that you have a standard according to which you can measure. Now, what was the standard before and now how much has been achieved? So these are the two things that you require for performance. And these are the two things where you can measure the performance: TNA, the needs, and the standards. First, you set one standard, and now how much is the standard? And needs, you already have the list. So whether the training has been able to satisfy such needs or not. Then on the resources side, we have the costs, the time, the facilities, the faculty. So this tells you, like this gives you parameters on evaluation. And you can evaluate the costs, the time, the facilities, the faculty when you are looking at the resources parameters. And if you're measuring the performance, then training needs analysis and standards give you a set thing based on which you can measure. So TNA consultancies have three key factors: environmental, motivational, and behavioral. So there could be like if something has gone wrong, it could be because of the environmental factors or motivational factors. The motivation has lowered. There could be many factors why motivation has lowered. And the behavioral, like actually his performance, his attitude, knowledge, and skill. And the standards they provide criteria. Like they give you the performance objective. What should be the performance objective? What a person is doing in clear, unambiguous terms that feature one activity related verb. Like, for example, typing speed. So that is just one example. It could be many other. Then, or the number of products sold in 1 week, or the number of calls made, or the number of customer complaints addressed and resolved. This could be, anything could be the objective, performance objective. Then performance criteria. Performance criteria is significant features of a person's performance that determines their competence. So what are the things that are important in his performance and that should be looked at? Now, there are two things: the resources, as I mentioned, and I have talked about the 4 resources, and the performance that gives you an idea how the training is and how it should be. So the training needs analysis gives you the objective of the training. So when we have these resources and when we have the performance in mind, there could be a scenario when the organization does not do any training, but the employees still have some level of performance. It cannot be zero, because every employee will have some standard of performance there. But the organization wants him to achieve this standard. And the training is expected to give this much enhancement in performance after the training has happened. So when we have a desired standard of performance here, and we have some performance that was already happening, there could be two trainings that are going on. And one training is able to provide only this much rise. You can see it in the red triangle, the pink triangle, that shows the level has risen only up to this level. The yellow triangle is behind the pink triangle, so you cannot see the back of it, but it is protruding upwards and it shows you that it has been able to reach the desired standard of performance. So in training terms, we call this as an effective training. The yellow triangle depicts an effective training because the desired standard of performance has been achieved. But pink triangle is called depicts an ineffective training because what the organization wanted has not been achieved. The resources used by both the trainings are the same, equal resources. Say it was a 5-day training. The time is the same. Faculty were excellent in both of them. But the one training could reach it, the other training could not reach it. So naturally the organization will go in for the training which is effective. There could be another scenario. Now you have two trainings going on and the same level of performance is existing in both the trainings. And this is the desired standard of performance. One training used very less resources, maybe in terms of time, maybe in terms of facilities, maybe in terms of faculty members. One person was teaching just for 2 days, but he used such good exercises and such good method that he could achieve the desired training of performance. But another training, you can't see the pink portion here, but it is extending beneath it. And this training reached the standard of performance, but it utilized too much resources. For example, you used it in say it was a 5-star hotel. The training was for 5 or 6 days, and the trainers were like, you had to hire 3 trainers instead of 1. And the cost was too much to the organization. So this kind of training, which reaches a desired standard of performance in lesser resources, is called an efficient training. And the one which utilizes much more resources to reach the same desired standard of performance is called an inefficient training. So while as an evaluator, you need to look at a training by both the point of views. It should be effective first of all. If the training is not effective, then it is not good enough for the organization. But if the training is effective, whether it is efficient or not. So you must compare, even if you're looking for new training proposals, then too you have to evaluate the training proposals, then see the resources that are being used and whether it is an efficient training or not. So while you're evaluating, you should be able to evaluate both the effectiveness of the training and also the efficiency of the training. In this slide, actually, if the organization is doing some training, and these two depict 2 different trainings, so you have 20 people. Efficiently, they are doing the training, but 1,000 people are available with similar needs. So training just 20 people is not enough. And you may be training 1,000 people in a big training, but it is not effective. Like, it's only able to give you, say, 70% or 50% of the desired performance level. So both the trainings are not good enough. So you have to evaluate critically trainings like that. Now this chart is showing something. For example, there is a course that is going on and you have chosen that course, and the slide here is again the resources on the horizontal axis and performance on the vertical axis. And the trainee already has some knowledge while working in the organization. In the first session, we learned that learning happens by and by also, isn't it? So people may be picking up and it will be different for different people, but that person has a pre-course learning already. He enters into the course and there's an acceleration in learning, isn't it? And that person he started from here where he already had some knowledge, and while working in the organization he learned something, and then he entered into the course and he has an accelerated learning, and now he's when come back to the workplace and he's performing there. And when it is also called conditioning, like we get conditioned, and when we're practicing the same skills and things, we do become good at it. But the learning curve, if we do not update ourselves with time and we do not take care of the continued improvement in performance after completing the course, like there could be some other courses, there could be some additional advanced courses, or there could be something much more than that through which the participant must go, the employee must go through. Otherwise, his performance will become a little stagnant. So organizations have to look at that also, to give some remedial training or to give some advanced training depending upon the need of the person. So the learning curve, like advancements happen in technology, advancements happen in other things. So, or maybe revisiting the things that needs to be done. So this slide shows that. So the training, the evaluator must also look at the trainings or things that are needed after that. So let us look at some principles of evaluation. I think I have 5 minutes more to go. So look at some principles. What are the principles of evaluation? The first principle says that the trainer evaluator must be clear about the purpose of evaluation. By purpose, we mean why he wants to do the evaluation. What does he want to assess? As I said earlier, evaluation can be done at 5 points. So where he will be working, whether he wants to do a pre-training evaluation or he wants to do a during the training evaluation, why he wants to do it, that will determine his place of doing the thing and also the time. A good trainer or evaluator must demonstrate objectivity. And to do that, he must have measurable standards of assessment. Try to be as much measurable as possible, valid and reliable research instruments, and detached analysis and interpretation of data. There should be no bias, and it should not be, you should not be opinionated while analyzing. For evaluation to be reliable, the results should confirm, irrespective of the methods used to gather the data when repeated by the same trainer again. So, like, it should not be different. When you're doing the same instrument again, using the same method again, and the data should not, gathering the data, it should be the same. Reliable. It should be reliable. Evaluation has to be accepted as a process rather than an end product of the training. It has to be a continuous process. Okay? So it has to be continuous. You cannot just say that it is to be just at the end of the training. Evaluation has to begin before the actual training activity and must end much after conclusion of the visible training activity. It must be comprehensive enough to provide qualitative data. And it guides the trainers for the current training effectiveness and to improve subsequent training. Evaluation design should be tailor-made to suit specific training levels and standards. Like you cannot use every design for every training or every, like you cannot generalize things. So generalization drawn from one evaluation design may not identify the needs of training meant for different set of objectives or different trainings. Always use more than one method of data gathering and data information. We will, in the course of these sessions, we will do different methods, that is different tools which we use. So it is suggested that you should use more than one tool. For feasible evaluation design, it should be cost effective, practical, and there should be utility of data. So I will stop here, and then we will start with purposes of evaluation, why we should do evaluation. And I end my session here. And if you have any questions, you can email me. I will make available the PowerPoint of the first session to you. I will send it to ISTD and they will upload it. And if they have not already done that, then I will upload it because it is the same as the last time. So maybe it is already there. And they will upload the video also.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, I just wanted to ask
you
for
will
the
have to
video.
speak loud.
For video.
Yeah, they will share the video also. I think they will share the video also. I am not the custodian of the video. So it's totally the ISTD, and I think they are